Well, hello, welcome back to the shop of Wood Spinning Around. This is Doug. It is good to have you with me yet again. What I've got on the lathe here is another piece of Mimosa. It wasn't too long ago that I turned a piece that was being sent off. The lady I got it from, I was turning it for her so that it could be sent to a sister or a friend as a gift. I was glad to do that. My payment for doing that was this piece of Mimosa. Again, same tree, I'm pretty sure. It's got the same coloring, same grain, marked the same. Again, this is a bowl that was roughed out by Mark Sillay. I am going to finish turn it and finish it. Interesting, it's got a little worm trail right there. It does not have a date on it, so I'm not sure when it was originally turned. This is marked as being 10.5 inches by 3, so 10.5 inch diameter by 3 inches, and it is marked Mimosa. So I'm going to wear my dust mask, my RZ dust mask. Last time when I tried to turn this stuff, immediately my nose began to run like a sieve, and so we're just gonna have to work with it and deal with it. I'll try to talk loudly, and if I've got something I need to explain, I'll stop and take it off. It is warped, there's no question about that. It's not terrible out of shape. I'm going to try to stay as close as I can to his design, but I'm going to start off by reducing this tenon, get it down to a size small enough that I can use, that I can grab hold of. I'm going to clean up this outside edge, get it nice and flat to itself. Then I will turn it around. We'll work on the inside. Let's start on the outside. First thing we're going to do is work on this tenon, and then we won't come all the way up to the top. I'm going to turn part of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. All right, everything's tight. Good deal. It's at 470, everything is clear. We'll probably speed it up as we get it going here. It's about 1,000 RPMs. I'm going to slightly readjust my tool rest here. Finally figured out that ticking noise was the very end. These threads on this live center were just nicking the very top edge of my tool rest. And all I'm going to do here, I'm going to start curving this around just a little bit more. That's from here to about here is probably the thickest part of this bowl. All right, this is going to be my foot here. All right. I'm wishing I could do a real push cut. That's better. That's better. Good bit of sanding still to do. There we go. Still got some sanding to do, but that made that curve a whole lot better right there. That last little cut. All right, we're ready to go. I could reduce. We'll leave the tenon where it is. I was going to say we could reduce that. We can. These jaws would allow that without any problem, but we're going to go with what we got. There we go. So last time I'll use until we turn this around to remove the tenon, that's the last we'll use that tailstock. Let's see, this is what I want. Lock the spindle down so that we can do this one-handed. That way I can hold the bowl and press in the center. All right. Unlock it. We are free to spin. Now I've only straightened up this back side to this ridge line right here. I want to do some work on this inside first before I finish that. I don't want to get, and there's plenty of meat there I think, but I want to do some work on this inside first. There we go. I think that'll Nope. It was actually hitting on the banjo, not on the tool rest itself. All right, I think we're good. I want to start on this outside edge. There we go. That looks better. Very light cut. Turn my air cleaner on so that any dust I am creating is not going to accumulate and get in the air when I do take this mask off. Wow, that's still moving on that outside edge. Readjust my tool rest yet again. I get this outside completed. All right. still a ridge right there that I'd love to get rid of. All right. All right, the outside is to the place where it'll sand. Our rim is pretty good, it'll sand. Now it's time to readjust and start working on the inside a bit. Still have plenty of meat to work with. I'm not concerned there. There we go. Oh yeah. And give it just a little more speed. Wanted to double check my depth. And I am in good shape. I'm just going to go straight across. I don't want to go don't care about going any deeper. Do need to lower my there we go. All right. I'll turn my other lights on. I hope this doesn't wash it out too much. But I'll know on the next video not to do it if it does. Let's check it. A lump right there between those two fingers. Between there and there. I told you with the first piece of Mimosa that Mark Sillay and I have a mutual friend. That's who I got the first piece, well, both of these pieces from. She was, Elizabeth was in the wood business for a number of years, but has recently made the decision to close that business out. She is going on another, in another direction with her career. Don't blame her. It seems very suited to her. I'm excited for her. I'm deciding how I want to sand this. I'm going to do it with the drill, power sanding. So there we are again. I just took that mask off, and here I go starting to cough again. Anyway, if you're friends with Elizabeth, you'll want to be watching her various postings in social media. She will be making announcements relatively soon, I do believe, on how she's going to liquidate her wood stock. So if she's got more Mimosa or can get hold of some more, I want some more. There's also the Japanese cedar that I'd gotten from her before. I think I've turned the only two pieces I had. I've turned two. If that's all I got from her, I've turned it all. So, and I know my wife wants more. So, we'll be getting some more of that. Anyway. Now, before I sand, I'm going to make one more finish cut all the way down. I've got plenty of meat, especially in the bottom. So I've got some ridges there that will probably sand out. It'll be so much easier to turn them out. You should be able to get one good pass. Should take care of it. Change gouges. This one is fresh and sharp. much, well, everything but the center. What happened there? I'll turn it off and look at that center. Something, oh, I see what's going on. Okay, no problem. We can get that out, I think. All right. Okay, we have sanded all the way to 320 grit. We are at the point, we have blown it off good. Well, okay, can you find the tool I usually use? This will work, I think. Yep. We're at the point of washing it off. I've got to take my dust mask at least loose for a second. There we go. I'll put it right back on. A little bit looser. It was right across my sinuses and my nasal passage, and I couldn't breathe. Anyway, we got all the sanding done without issue. We have blown it. Now I'm going to wipe it down with alcohol. This will give us a little bit of a preview of what it's going to look like. Oh my, what a beautiful, rich brown grain that is. Love it. And you can see I'm getting some dust out of there even though I've blown it. I've blown it really good, actually. Blew it between grits. Then I blew it after I got done. Reverse this. I'm going to wipe down the outside. I'm going to wipe the outside again here in a minute after when we reverse it and I go to take this tenon off. I've got a definite line where I could not sand on the back side here, and so I will sand and re-clean all of this on the back. There again, you can see the dust that I'm getting out of the pores of this wood. Just washing it off. Like I said, sanded all front and back as far as I could to 320. Blew it out good. Now I've washed it down with alcohol. That'll raise the grain just a touch. I'm gonna put a little sanding sealer on here. Even if I'm going to oil this, and I still haven't decided what I'm doing with it. I'm going to wax it. Where I just got some new finish, I may try that. I may oil this. Just oil. In fact, I may oil it and then try my new finish is a urethane, a gloss urethane, which will go with the oil very, very well. The alcohol showed this grain off, but the sanding sealer is going to do even better. Some people will say, oh, if you're going to oil you can't use sanding sealer. Well, yeah, you can, because this sanding sealer is going to go down into the wood a bit. If I'm going to use oil, I'm going to knock this back before put the oil on anyway. I'm going to sand it lightly. So I'll take the surface back down. If I'm waxing, I'm going to use the abrasive grit first. Oh my, how beautiful is that? I'm sure there's somebody out there that thinks this is not very pretty wood. I think it's gorgeous. It's just I think it's beautiful. Especially when we go from the untreated wood, just raw sanded wood, which is kind of white, gray, kind of washed out looking. Doesn't have much to it. But then you add the sanding sealer to it, and it pops that grain, brings these colors out. The sanding sealer itself does not have color. As you can see, it looks white, milky white. This is a lacquer sanding sealer, cellulose sanding sealer, and so it is lacquer, which is clear. Some lacquer thinner, which is clear. But then what gives it the milky appearance is the stearates that are in there, so that it sands very nicely, very smooth. Could just use plain lacquer, but the sanding sealer seems to, well, it soaks in a little better than the lacquer. The lacquer tends to stay on top more. Sanding sealer goes down into the wood, and so it actually seals the wood in the pores. Dust mask keeps wanting to slide down, cuts off my breathing. But if it's too high, then I can't see. Anyway, it dries very, very quickly. It's not dry just yet. I'm just wiping some of the dust off. In fact, I am going to take another paper towel, a dry paper towel, give it a little wipe down. Probably doesn't need it, but if there was any extra on the surface, this would thin it, let it dry quicker so that I can move on to the next step. Okay, now what are we going to do? I'm going to oil this. Before I do anything else, I'm going to oil it. Let's do this. For oil it, I'm going to use my Scotch-Brite pad, my brown Scotch-Brite. Denib all of that. Oh my, that feels good. Feels so good. Alright, make sure there's no dust in my pad. There was in both of them, but it knocked right out. These are a nylon pad, or like Scotch-Brite pads. They're not Scotch-Brites, but very similar. Come in various grits. The white is the finest. I don't know what the grits are. I've got some around here, right over there in a bag. And I think the explanation as to what the grits are, according to the colors, is on the bag. Okay, now, walnut oil probably does not need to be shaken, because that's all that's in it, is walnut oil. There's nothing else in there, nothing to separate. And that's bringing out some richness. Because I put the sanding sealer on there, the oil, which normally would go down into the pores, and it is going down into the pores of the wood, but it's not as far and not as much. And so what I get This is as if I was adding the second or third coat of oil already, even though this is the very first coat. And I cannot believe how nice that wood looks. Buffing up the last coat of, or the wax that I've got on here. I'm going to put one more coat on here. It has been a while since the last scene. And I am sorry about that. I meant this video to be out at the end of that last scene. But I had a problem with the finish. I had just finished it up, turned it around to take this tenon off, and saw that we had this problem. There were scratches underneath the finish. I thought I had inspected it very, very well. Didn't see any. But then as I was getting ready to make do this last process of getting rid of that tenon, I saw these terrible scratches. And so I thought, you know, as much work has gone into this and as good as this bowl looks, I don't want there to be any scratches in it. And so the lacquer that was on it was taken off. It was sanded down to bare wood. I changed my mind on my finish, and instead of the lacquer, I used the Waterlox Original High Gloss. This is the green label. It's the high gloss finish. It's got tung oil and some urethane and a couple other things in it. It's not a food safe product by any means. At least I'm not going to label it as food safe. Never intended it to be used for a food bowl anyway. You may or may not be able to see this finish or this wax going on. I've got a pretty good gloss on it already. This is just a thin final coat. I'm simply spreading it around, getting a good even coverage. Very, very thin. In fact, I'm going to turn my lathe way down to about 200-ish. There we go. Come on. There we go. I'm going to use that slow speed just to make sure I'm spread. Using the same area, just like I do with the abrasive paste, use the same area of the paper towel just to spread the wax around. And then I'm going to crank it up. There we go, right at 1,000 RPMs. All right, get a clean part of the towel. Begin the buffing process. Don't know if you can see the shine coming up or not, but the shine is coming right up. One more time here with another fresh area. Not putting a lot of pressure, allowing the paper towel to do its job. Simply buffing off the top layer of the wax. I want wax to remain on there, so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. I don't want to burnish it back off. I want to leave the wax on there. Wax serves two purposes. One is to protect the finish that is on there, but then also to raise the level of the shine. I use that Waterlox. I've got 4 or 5 coats on each side, top and bottom, which is nice. Nice finish. And then I went through the abrasive paste, and now the wax, just to bring up the shine even further, make it a little deeper, a little more polished. Okay, a couple of quick adjustments here. I want to get my smock on. Help keep me clean and keep some of the shavings out of the rest of the house. Move my banjo on the proper side. Well, she got the inner flap stuck in the zipper. There we go. Give my shield a little spray. A little spray of air just to get it clean. Messing with this tool rest, I don't want to bang up my bowl. So we'll turn it off. I want to get this in nice and tight. This tenon. Give it a spin, make sure it's clear, everything is. Turn it back on. Sharp bowl gouge. Take my ring off. I'm going to take this band off, even though it's a rubber band. I'm going to take it off. Just extra safe. Rings need to come off, they don't give. The band will give, but I'm taking it off anyway. Anyway, shield back down. Changing over to a 3/8 spindle gouge. It's ground as a detail gouge. So slow my speed down to 300. Close enough. I'm also going to move my tool rest. Bring it in a little tighter. Nice shine on that Mimosa. There we go. I'll take this down just a little more. Taking my time to do this. It is slow, turning at a slow speed. Change what I'm doing here for just a second. I want to sand this. Get it nice and smooth, put my marks, my rings on there so that I can sign it here in a minute. Where is, okay. let's do it this way. What I'm going to do is sand this up to, I'll sand it to 220, I guess. So this is 100 I'm starting with. I'll sand it to 220. So I'll do some final sanding after I take it off the lathe. I'm not going to totally finish it here. A little bit of finish that was already on that foot is starting to, or trying to clog up my sandpaper. There we go. Give it just a touch more speed. It says 345 at this point. All right. Take that off for right now. Once your you want your feet sanded out, or the base of your bowl sanded out fairly nice. I've known people in the past, in fact, I was of the opinion at one point that, oh, nobody picks it up. But then if you go to a show and stand back and watch the people at somebody else's booth, everybody picks it up. Yes, they look at the top first. Next thing they do, they flip it over. And so you want your bottoms to look good. You don't want the bottom to look like, oh, that's an afterthought, or there's no care given to it. There we go. 150 was a little easier than the 100. Was what I expected. Let's go ahead and do the 240. Then we're going to put our rings on here. My rings are they're not even something I suggest to most people. It's what I do. It gives me some boundaries for my shop name, the species of the wood, and the number that I give every piece. I give every piece a number. Has nothing to do with a serial number. It's not even an identification. But I know what it is. It's actually the date, the month and the year. I do it as a 4-digit number, so I know what it means. All right. Get the shield back on. We'll speed it up just a touch. Put the lines in. Using a 1/4-inch skew. Just using the toe of it. And like I said, I'm not going to finish this off. I still got to engrave all that information on it. Then I will put finish on there like I have the rest of it. And I'll take the nub off as well. But that's all after I engrave it, yes. Okay. Just want to go ahead and take this off so I can show you. Knock that little bit of dust off that's collected. And it looks so much better than it did before. You may have seen it fall out. I had non-slip shelf liner that was up against my jam chuck, and then paper towel on the outside, which was against the bowl. But there you have it. One Mimosa bowl, 10.5 inches wide. This was rough turned by Mark Sillay. I got the rough turn blank and have turned it, finished it. That is ready to go. I just bought a new scale, but I haven't even gotten it into the shop yet. I can't tell you what it weighs now or what it weighed before I started. I would move my vacuum nozzle, except that my camera stand is right up against it. So anyway, there it is. One Mimosa bowl, 10.5 by about 2.5, maybe 3. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my channel. If you really liked it or think some of your friends might like this video, if you would share the link out with them as well. And I tell you what, that'll help me more than anything if you'll share the link out with other folks who might get some benefit from watching these videos. I appreciate you being with me. Until we get to meet again, this is Doug in the shop of Wood Spun Around. Until we meet again, I hope you're able to spin them round.